He had always walked through life like nothing could touch him, like the world was something he observed, from a distance, rather than something he participated in. Power gave him that illusion. Wealth reinforced it. Everywhere he went, doors opened, people straightened their backs, problems shrank. But on that day, in a quiet parking lot with fading daylight and a chill that clung to the air, he was reminded just how fragile even the strongest-looking life could be. And it wasn't a bodyguard or executive who reminded him, it was a little girl. He had stepped out of his car the way he always did, confident, distracted, mind already racing ahead to his next meeting. He clicked the car doors shut without glancing back. He had no reason to. His vehicles were always in perfect condition, maintained better than most homes. He trusted the system around him, trusted the perfection he purchased, trusted the order of his world that rarely cracked. But life has a way of showing us that danger doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers. He heard footsteps before he saw her, a quick light pattering on the pavement. He assumed it belonged to someone passing by. But then he felt something unexpected, a tiny hand wrapping around his fingers. He froze. Adults didn't touch him without asking, and children certainly didn't run up to him. Yet there she was, her hand trembling but firm, as if grabbing him could keep him anchored. When he looked down, he saw eyes wide with urgency, not fear, but certainty. She wasn't guessing. She wasn't imagining danger. She had seen something, and she needed him to believe her. "I saw smoke under your car," she said, almost breathless. The words cut through him sharper than any alarm. She wasn't dramatic, she wasn't trying to get attention. She wasn't even blinking much, she was focused entirely on him, waiting for him to react. He frowned, instinctively glancing back at the sleek black car. For a moment he saw nothing, just the shine of metal, the reflection of the fading sky. But then, there it was, the faintest wisp curling from beneath the front left side. So thin at first it looked like a trick of light, but it wasn't. It thickened slightly, just enough for his chest to tighten. His instinct was denial. These things didn't happen to him, not his cars, not his world. But the smoke didn't care about his status, it didn't care about his money. Danger moved free in the world, and for once, it had decided to settle near him. He felt the girl tug his hand again, a silent plea for him not to get too close. Something about that small gesture, this child trying to protect a grown man, shook him in ways nothing else ever had. He was always the protector, the provider, the one others depended on. But now, he was the one being pulled back to safety by fingers smaller than his cufflinks. "Thank you," he managed to say, though the words felt insufficient. She nodded quickly, her brows pinched with worry. "You shouldn't go near it. My teacher says smoke can mean something's burning inside." Her voice reminded of innocence mixed with responsibility, of a child who paid attention to the world because she didn't expect it to protect her. There was knowledge in her eyes that didn't belong to someone her age, and strangely, it humbled him. Her awareness had just saved him from stepping closer to what could have been a serious accident. He reached for his phone and dialed. His voice was steady when he said, "There's smoke under my vehicle, I need assistance immediately." This wasn't the kind of situation he liked, anything unpredictable, anything that risked control. But he stayed calm, because she was watching, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he wanted to appear steady for her sake. When he hung up, he noticed her still holding his hand. She hadn't let go even after he called for help, as if she believed the danger wasn't over yet, as if her grip could shield him from whatever might come next. He looked at her small fingers wrapped around his, and something warm pushed against his ribs. A feeling he hadn't entertained in years. "You did the right thing by coming to tell me," he said softly. She shrugged, her gaze still fixed on the smoking car. "I didn't want you to get hurt, so simple, so pure, no hesitation, no agenda." He swallowed. "What's your name?" "Amelia," she said, still not looking away from the car. "My dad says you have to help people when you see something bad happening." Her words pried open an old memory. His own mother's voice telling him the same thing when he was a boy, a memory he hadn't dusted off in years, a memory buried under so much company policy and emotional distance that he almost forgot what it felt like to care instinctively, simply because someone existed. "You were very brave," he said, and this time he meant it more deeply than he expected. She finally looked up at him, and for the first time, he saw the innocence return to her expression. The urgency faded. She loosened her grip, but she didn't walk away, and neither did he. "Are they coming fast?" she asked. "Yes, good. I was scared it would start a real fire." Her honesty disarmed him. He crouched slightly so they were closer to eye level, ignoring the faint ache in his knees that came with years of sitting in boardrooms instead of living in the world outside. "You know," he said, "most people wouldn't have noticed the smoke." She bit her lip. I saw it because I was sitting on the curb drawing. And smoke looks strange when it's cold outside. He blinked. Drawing, on a curb, alone. Where's your family? He asked. She gestured toward the small convenience store at the edge of the lot. My dad's inside paying. He said I could wait outside so I could finish my picture. It was such a simple human moment. A father trusting his child to sit close, a child noticing the world instead of staring at a screen. Something about it softened him. He wasn't used to softness, he avoided it. Softness meant vulnerability. But here it was, wrapped in a tiny voice and warm fingers. Sirens approached in the distance. Blue and red flickered against the reflective surface of his car. He watched as firefighters inspected the vehicle, lifting the hood, scanning the undercarriage. One of them approached him after a few minutes. Good thing someone spotted it early, the firefighter said, nodding toward Amelia. This could have gotten serious. The billionaire looked down at her, and the pride he felt didn't make logical sense, but it felt right. She saved him. She hadn't let danger slip by quietly. She had taken action, and that mattered. He bent down again. You really did save me. She giggled, the kind of sound that chipped away at walls he didn't know he still carried. I just told you what I saw. But most people ignore what they see, he said gently. You didn't. Her smile softened. I don't like when people get hurt. He nodded slowly. Neither do I. The simplicity of the moment stretched between them. Warm, quiet, human. He felt a shift inside him. Something like gratitude mixed with a tenderness he rarely allowed himself to feel, and for the first time in a long time, he felt connected to someone without contracts, without negotiations, without expectations, just humanity. Just two people on a cold evening, holding hands because danger made them remember that we all need each other more than we admit. And as the firefighters cleared the scene, as the smoke disappeared, as the night settled again, he realized something. Sometimes the universe doesn't send warnings in big signs or loud alarms. Sometimes it sends a child with paint-stained fingers and a brave heart to pull you away from what could have been your undoing. Sometimes help arrives in the smallest form, at the exact moment you least expect it, reminding you that you are not as untouchable as you pretend to be, and not as alone as you fear you are. And that was the moment everything quietly changed. Because that was the moment a little girl held his hand, and saved far more than his life.